They should be, it should be on.
Call the meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, December 10th. It is 6:01 p.m. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Can we have the clerk provide roll call?
Commissioner Cullinan.
Present.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Here.
Commissioner Mizuraka.
Aye.
Vice Chair Roush.
Here.
Commissioner Tolbert.
Here.
Chair Izetta.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any changes to the agenda from the commission? Any public comment for the agenda?
We need to call for a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Call for a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda. Second.
Commissioner Cullinan.
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Mizuraka.
Aye.
Vice Chair Roush.
Aye.
Commissioner Tolbert.
Yes.
Chair Izetta.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Any comments from the public? At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. It is recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Under state law, matters presented under this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for the committee consideration. Upon being acknowledged by the chair, please step to the podium and speak into the microphone. Begin by stating and spelling your name. Move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar, anything?
Just read the part that's in blue.
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the committee, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate action. Any questions from the commission? Any public comment? Motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Commissioner Cullinan.
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Mizuraka.
Aye.
Vice Chair Roush.
Yes.
Commissioner Tolbert.
Yes.
Chair Izetta.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
We will turn it over to Dave Jahns, the Parks and Rec staff, and he'll be moving on to his agenda items.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, members of Commission. Nice to see all of you. We're going to start with a presentation. When we had our last meeting, I think I was about 2 weeks into the position. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to share with you all. I know you all were heavily involved, the community was involved in discussions in the formation of the Parks and Recreation Department and the director position, but share a little bit more about the current framework, talk about some initiatives that we're currently working on as a team, and then give you an opportunity to meet the rest of the Parks and Rec team as well. So this will just be an overview of our department structure. Happy to bring back additional information at a future meeting, or we can field some brief questions here. And so I'm going to look to Cathy. I think we just need to swap the swap the presentations. Get a little preview of an item coming up later on the agenda. No problem.
Sorry, guys.
Thanks for your patience, working out the technology kinks. So we're just going to go through a brief overview of the Parks and Recreation Department. So I think I have the clicker. So some background, the Parks and Recreation Department, this was really made possible through community vision. A lot of community members had an interest in doing this, and then City Council made this formalized in 2024. But there was a lot of steps, there was a lot of action that happened in advance of that. And one thing I always like to point out when I'm talking to members of the community is that, you know, typically when a Parks and Recreation Department is being started in a community, it's because there's a lack of recreation services opportunities, and here is the exact opposite. There's a lot happening in this community. There's a lot of terrific organizations, individuals that are very passionate about parks, open space, recreational programming, and so a lot of work happened to get us to this point. You can see some of those landmarks on this slide, but I'll jump ahead to the 2021. As many of you are familiar, there was a Parks and Recreation Task Force that was created, and from that, lots of initiatives were completed, one of which we still use to this day, which is an inventory of all the various parks and recreation providers that are in the community, and that lives on our website, and that's really been an area where people have turned to for resources, and we look to carry that on into the future. In 2022, the Parks and Recreation Task Force disbanded, and that began this body that's here today, the PROS, the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission. Following the work that you all did here as a commission body, City Council followed suit in 2024 and create the creation of a Parks and Recreation Department a goal of theirs. And why that's important is that puts staff time, that puts staff funding towards achieving that goal. And so the way that the existing administration, the City Council identified to do that was there was a approval of a tax measure, Measure T, and so a portion of that goes towards funding for this department and for the Parks and Recreation Director position. And then in August of this year, we officially launched as a Parks and Recreation Department. So to give you a little bit overview of what this new department areas of responsibility, and some of this will be at a high level, but there's lots of subcategories to this, and that keeps us very busy on a day-to-day basis. But at a high level, our department's responsible for parks, trails, and open space management, both the delivery and the coordination of special events, an area that may or may not have been discussed with this commission in any great detail, but we're responsible for the management of 3 municipal cemeteries in our community. Recreation programming, and that goes both in the sense of providing recreation programming, which we are are planning and looking to get into as a staff team, but also working with the existing providers to help support our recreation and community partners and continuing to deliver the great services that they are for our community. Strengthening those community partnerships, and then also public art. So another wing of our department and commission is working with the Cultural and Fine Arts Commission on leading and implementing public art initiatives. So a quick peek at the structure. These are the individuals that are involved in the Parks and Recreation Department. So we have the director position, and then you'll see the two advisory bodies on the upper right-hand side, one of which is the pros here, which advise staff and city council on initiatives that guide our day-to-day work. We also have a senior management analyst who their role is to oversee special events and recreation programming. There's a lot of other facets to that in the community services realm as well. So again, I'm just touching at a high level, but a lot of intricacies to each of these individuals' workloads. We have a cemeteries manager, a parks supervisor, and then we have 5 parks maintenance staff that makes up our department structure. One thing that's not going to show on here, but I think is really important to highlight, is our relationship with other departments. As you all have gotten to know various staff members from Public Works, we are looking to transition some of the duties of parks maintenance and delivery of park enhancements over to Parks and Recreation, but it goes without saying that we're going to continue to work hand in hand with the Public Works Department. It's just not possible for us to completely say, okay, this is going to move to another department without the support. And I can't thank this team enough for all the work that they have done over the years, but especially in getting me up to speed in the last few months. So I'm just grateful for that partnership that we have with our Public Works and operations team. I won't touch upon this slide for too long, but I just want to point this out. So these are the 5 main areas of the City Council's goals for the existing year. And the reason I bring this slide up is you'll see that Parks, Recreation, and Community Services was right there at the top of their list. And it's not always common to have Parks and Recreation listed explicitly in City Council's goals. And so for our team, for our community, I think this was a big step in that City Council said this is a priority for our community because that's what they heard from community members. So it's really great to see this cemented in the City Council goals. And within that, again, lots of text here, but these were the specific initiatives that City Council set aside for the previous year, so the year that we're currently in. I'll talk a little bit about goal setting in our next item, but these were the initiatives that City Council put forward that they wanted to see come from the creation of the Parks and Recreation Department. It's not uncommon for goals to carry on for year over year, and you'll see some of these are done, right? Number 1, we can check that off the list that we created a dedicated Parks and Recreation Department, whereas others, they're going to carry on and take several months, or in some instances, carry over from year to year through to completion. I wanted to take that down and kind of boil it down to a little bit more detail of some of the current initiatives that our team is working on as we speak. Again, this is just a snapshot, and there's a lot more to come as we get into 2026. But areas that we're focusing on as staff team, which is enhancing our parks maintenance. We have a small but mighty parks maintenance team. They're responsible for all of the parks. They collaborate with our partners who maintain our open space, but support development in the open space area. They also maintain the cemeteries. And if you've spent time in any of our cemeteries, especially Mountain Cemetery, it's a giant piece of land there. So a lot of work that a small crew takes on, and so we're working on new ways that we can be creative and make sure that we're delivering the highest quality parks maintenance possible. Park rehab and development, that's exactly the type of thing that we're working on with the Olsen Park project, ways that we are making sure that we are protecting and enhancing our existing assets and making them as approachable and usable by the community. We just wrapped up a tree inventory and canopy study. We're doing that in collaboration with our Public Works Department and our Community Development Department. And you all will have an opportunity, as we'll talk about when we get in our calendar, to look at the results from that inventory and canopy study at a special joint meeting, which we're scheduled to have in early 2026. And I think this will be a really excellent tool to help both from a staff perspective, but as you all in your planning and your goal initiatives, it will give us some really, I think, useful data in our overall tree inventory, and also where we have concentrations of plantings in town and where there's opportunity to increase that canopy throughout town. Another really exciting project that we're looking to launch in early 26 is a plaza master plan. And so this is something that I know has been discussed for several years now in different iterations, but we're working on getting a request for proposals out the door here in the next couple of weeks. And this will look at not only the infrastructure of our plaza, so things like our irrigation systems, our electric systems, but how we have a long-term sustainability plan, how we maintain the various facets of that park, everything from turf management to tree inventory, but also how it's used by the community. We're looking at how it's used for special events, how often it's open for just general community use. And so this is something that we are excited to launch, but we're hopeful that we get a lot of community and public feedback on, because it really will set the stage of how we maintain and sustain the plaza for the next 20 years. In the world of cemetery, we are looking at opportunities of how we can expand inventory within the cemetery. And the reason being is that we want to make sure that Sonomans have the opportunity to be buried or laid to rest here in Sonoma. In several of our locations, we're pretty much at capacity based on existing space, and so we're working closely together to see how we can expand and utilize the space that we have, but look at new creative ways to utilize that space. I mentioned this before, but we're looking how we can get into recreation programming as a city department, but also how we can work closely with partners to support them in what they're doing. And so we intend to meet with our recreation program providers here in short order to get an understanding of everything that's offered throughout the community, see if we can bring that into one umbrella of information so that families or individuals or visitors can come to one location and have a good understanding of all the recreation opportunities that are happening in town. And as I mentioned before, several public art initiatives are underway with the Cultural and Fine Arts Commission in ways that we can enhance art in our community, and one of those we'll touch upon tonight as we get into the Olsen Park discussion. Touch upon the collaborations here. I wanted to point out a few of our providers. This is again a snapshot. There's many organizations out here that we work closely with and that have been in place delivering programs long before we had a Parks and Recreation department. But these are some of the providers that we've provided funding to from a city standpoint, but also that we want to work on collaboration and community outreach. But in addition to the ones you see here, there's many others, and we have a lot of nonprofits. We want to work closely with our school district as well as the business community just to make sure that what we're delivering meets the needs of the community. And this is a slide that we've shared with the public, but I want to share it here with you all, and especially if anyone's watching at home or here in the audience. We'd love for people to get involved in what we're doing in Parks and Recreation. So a few ways. We're looking to expand our volunteer opportunities. We've done a few cemetery cleanups, but I think there's going to be opportunity to increase our volunteer pool and create a more structured volunteer system to help maintain our parks. But we're also looking for people. We know we have a lot of talented and willing individuals, and so if people have special expertise, that can be in the parks and open space world, but it could also be something like graphic design or program development. We really want to tap into the resources that are available here in our community if people want to give back. We also have opportunities to serve on committees and commissions. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but we have openings here on the commission that we would love for people to get involved at that level as well. We're of course looking for sponsorship of programs and support of facility development. And then I think the last bullet point is really important as we look to do a lot of these planning initiatives such as the master plan, and as we look at developing parks in the future and get an understanding of program needs, facility needs, we need the input of the community. And so really having people show up to give us their feedback, that's really going to help us make sure that our process is community driven. So I'm going to quickly, I've talked about them in their roles, but and I promised them they didn't have to get up and give a formal presentation. So I just want to introduce the team and in the roles that I talked about. So here with us this evening, we have Lisa Jansen, who's our senior management analyst. Lisa does a ton in the special events world, but she also works on homeless services, community partnerships, and will be working on recreation programming, so does a lot in her role. Carolyn Fulton is our cemeteries manager, and trust me when I say that we would be so lost without with Carolyn's guidance in the world of cemeteries. It's not very common that cemeteries, quite frankly, lands in municipal structure, but definitely not in Parks and Recreation. Carolyn brings a whole lot of expertise in that realm, and we're just so grateful for the work that she has been doing for the last several years to help support our cemeteries. And Tom Arrington. Tom's been with the city, I believe, over 15 years. And just recently was appointed to become our parks supervisor. So he'll be our direct point of contact in managing our parks maintenance and enhancement efforts. So small team doing a lot, but I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to at least put a face to the name. They most likely will be joining us at future meetings as we dive into these initiatives. But I wanted you and the community to be familiar with who we all are as a team. That's something that's important to us as Parks and Recreation Department, is that we are known, we're accessible, and that people can come to us when they have questions, comments, and most importantly, creative ideas. So you see our contact information there. It's not too hard to find us on the city website, or we'd love to meet with people in person. So with that kind of brings us to the end. I know it's not a formalized action item on our agenda. Happy to answer a few questions, or if there's anything that piques your interest that we could bring back at a future meeting for you all.
Hi there. It's great to see things coming together and the breadth of focus that I see on the work you've been doing. One thing that strikes me as missing is open space. It was on the City Council's short list last year, putting more focus on our open spaces and protecting them. And it sort of seemed to go dormant. And so I'm just curious to know, we're keeping an eye on that? Are we keeping an eye on, our list of open spaces? And are we doing what it takes to keep pushing the wheel forward on protecting all of those?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I agree with you. It's not explicitly spelled out, and maybe something, especially from our internal structures, that we need to make sure that we highlight. And I think it's easy for us to, I don't want to say gloss over, but because we have such a strong partner with Sonoma Ecology Center and the great work that they're doing, we know that the management of that open space has been in really good hands for the last several years. But I know that it's also something from the city staff perspective I can share that we are definitely personally invested in. And it's important not only to maintain, but look at opportunities to enhance what we have. And if there's ever opportunities to expand our open space footprint, that's definitely something that we have an eye on at a staff level. I would like to say what I've heard, City Council is certainly interested in, and that is definitely a priority for them. They will be having their upcoming goal setting here at the end of January. And I think a good opportunity for conversations to be had of how that's spelled out in their council goals, but then spurring from that, you as a commission will have an opportunity to create your goals for 26. And I think if that's something that you all find that we should be highlighting in both your work as a commission and our work as a Parks and Recreation Department, we absolutely have that opportunity.
One thing that would be really helpful is if we could get any kind of sort of report on a list of our open spaces and their status and what's been going on over the last, 2 years. And just so we have the baseline. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I welcome and greatly appreciate this presentation. It's one I wish we all could have heard 3 years ago when we first formed the commission, but this is really so helpful, and we look forward to working with you. The only thing I would add is that you mentioned the tree inventory and tree canopy study. This commission is the city's tree committee. And also we have a city arborist here, John Meserve, which I would also like to recognize tonight. So, thank you.
Yes, excellent point. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Moving on to item 4.2, an update on City Council goal setting process and the PROS work plan.
Yeah, and I'll take this item as well, and this will be a brief update. Mainly just wanted to follow up on our discussion at the September meeting, as I know we created, you had made a motion to create an ad hoc to work on the work plan, and that wasn't forgotten about. What I wanted to do is give you an update on the timeline and what we felt as staff made the most sense and best use of your all time as a commission. So as I just previously mentioned, the city council will be getting together at the end of January. We should have a finalized date here shortly, but the end of January, where city council will be creating their goals for the upcoming year. And typically what happens is the city council will create their goals, and then there may be direct initiatives from those goals that trickle down to the various committees and commissions. And so from that, similar to the previous years, if there are ones that fall in the Parks and Recreation realm, we bring that to you all as a commission, and you can then take the initiatives, which are usually again at a higher level, and parse that out into more direct initiatives and create your work plan for the coming year as well. And so if the commission is still on board with the ad hoc that we created in September, what we as staff thought the best plan would be is we'll let the council have their goal setting session at the end of January. We then as an ad hoc can meet directly after through the month of February. Then our first regular meeting will be on March, let's say it's the 9th or the 11th, in the beginning of March, where we can bring back a draft work plan for the commission to consider. So that's the update on the timeline. Happy to take any recommendations if you'd like to go in a different directions. We do have an ad hoc forum where we can have those discussions.
Who's on the ad hoc?
If I'm remembering correctly, it was Chair Isetta, Commissioner Tolbert, and I believe Commissioner Cullinan.
Thank you.
That's testing my memory, though.
March 11th is the correct date.
We'll confirm if that is incorrect, but I think the three of you volunteered. Again, that was in September, so if that doesn't fit your schedules for the upcoming year, we can certainly adjust that, but that's who we have on the docket right now to be part of that ad hoc.
Commissioners Mizuraka, Cullinan, and Chair Isetta. Nope. That was Olsen Park, sorry.
I also stepped down on Olsen Park, or removed myself. Take your time, Cathy.
It's for the work plan, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so the work plan, yeah. The work plan. So for the work plan, this is in the meeting minutes on the consent calendar. And it looks like Commissioners Cullinan, Tolbert, and Chair Izetta volunteered to be on the ad hoc for the draft work plan for pros. Thank you, guys. Moving on to the regular calendar, item 5.1, we'll be going through the tree removal permits. We have 2 tonight, and each tree removal permit will be discussed separately, so I'll hand it over to Ashley to give us a staff report. Okay, thank you so much. So we do have 2 tree removal permits today, and we'll start with the first one, which is located 837 4th Street East. It's a flowering cherry tree in front of a residence and is causing structural damage to the driveway. The flooring of the garage is causing trip hazards. Cracks are lifted and beginning to cause a trip hazard. However, no significant structural deficiencies were observed. The tree appears to be in fair health, however, it is mildly distressed, and the location of the tree plays a significant role in the damage that is occurring on site due to the root system. And root pruning at the edge of the driveway next to the tree would have a significant impact on tree health and potentially the stability of the tree. So the recommendation on this one is recommending the removal of the tree with a replacement tree and a root barrier along the edge of the driveway to prevent the same outcome in the future. And then as Cathy so kindly pulled up, there are pictures of the tree, arborist report that are included in the agenda packet.
Any questions from the commission? Any public comment?
I'm the homeowner, so if you have any questions,
Could you please state your name for me?
my name is Luis Rivas.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'm the homeowner that's requesting the permit. As the report states, it is damaging my driveway, and cracks are starting to appear inside my garage. and there's an exposed root system that's encroached into the neighbors. It's exposed, and yeah, I'd just like to remove the tree, and then in the spring, replace it with something that's suitable for the house and the yard, and that's basically it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions from the commission or anything to discuss? We've noted that the recommendation from the arborist of the city is the removal of the tree is recommended with a replacement tree and a root barrier along the edge. I call for a motion to approve or deny.
I'll motion that we approve the request.
I second.
Commissioner Cullinan,
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Misraka,
No.
Vice Chair Roush,
Aye.
Commissioner Tolbert,
Yes?
Chair Izetta.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-1.
Thank you, commissioners, and then we'll move on to our second tree removal permit of the night. This is located at 432 York Court. This is a liquid amber tree that is in the sidewalk. We have the picture pulled up here. This is in the sidewalk planter strip at this location. The tree is in, generally speaking, healthy appearance. It has a vibrant canopy. The sidewalk adjacent to the tree, let me see if I can, there we go. And needs to be repaired. Without lifting the sidewalk and inspecting the actual root growth, it's unclear if the significant sidewalk damage is being caused by one or more significant tree roots. And the recommendation is removal of the tree replaced with a tree suitable for the planter strip.
Any questions from the commission? Any public comment?
My name is Joe Cuneo, C-U-N-E-O. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you, Ashley, for getting me on the agenda, kind of last minute. This liquid amber tree, it is beautiful this time of year. It does appear to be healthy. It drops limbs and makes a mess, and that's stuff we can live with. But unfortunately, the neighbors have alerted me to the sidewalk tripping hazard. So I think it's kind of time to do something with the sidewalk. The concrete contractor that I hired said that he feels like it's the root. I had an arborist. I don't know what Mr. Meserve's suggestion is, but I think it's in our best interest to replace it with a tree that's more appropriate, that has a little weaker root system or lower root system or something that's not creating a tripping hazard. So I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Any discussion from the commission?
I'm trying to find the diameter. Not finding the diameter. I'm sure it's here.
It's possible they didn't include the diameter in the arborist report. It's not usually something I specifically look for in a street tree because the tree ordinance requires a tree removal permit for any tree in the right of way. Significant tree private are ones where we are generally speaking screening for the tree diameter. So my apologies for overlooking that.
You would plan on replacing the tree then? Like at what point after removal do you think? Yeah. Okay, you'd look at the different types.
I'm open for suggestions.
Yeah, there's the recommendation from the arborist is removal of the tree and replaced with a suitable tree for a planter strip. We provide a recommended list of trees that you can choose from, and it would be in accordance with the diameter of the tree, which is why Commissioner Misraka is asking. But we can work with the arborist and he can help you pick something that would be suitable, like exactly what you said, like low root system, something that will survive, that you can stake and have a long-term growth plan.
I'll just say that, having been on the tree committee for these last 3 years, I think we can all agree that I would say at least 75 or 80% of the trees that we need replacement are the ones like this that are planted by the city or a developer in a public strip along the sidewalk and the curb. The tree becomes too big, it uplifts sidewalks and cracks, and it's then the owner's responsibility to figure out how to avoid the risk that it entails for the public on the sidewalk. So I hope that when the tree inventory and the tree canopy study gets underway, we can really begin to look at some of the codes for the city and the development so that we can better place trees like this so that they're not sacrificed as they get into their maturity. So that's just something that we all want to work on. I think it could be a work plan going forward for this, our tree committee. Thank you.
One other question I had was just whether or not, do you have currently irrigation in that strip too? Okay. You know, having the right tree and having the irrigation for it are two important parts these days, obviously. So that's another thing that I would make sure that if you replace it, that there's water so it can sustain itself during the early years of growth. It's a really important time.
I'd like to make a suggestion. Having helped someone with a tree recently, they had 3 different contractors who had to remove roots in the area. The concrete contractor, the guy that removed the tree and ground the roots, he said he did a great job. And in fact, everybody else had to do that also. So when you remove the tree, consciously remove all the roots because the liquid amber will grow from their roots.
Based on the recommendation, I am going to call for a motion.
I move that we accept the recommendation to have this tree removed and a suitable replacement.
I second.
Commissioner Cullinan,
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizuraka,
No.
Vice Chair Roush,
Aye.
Commissioner Tolbert,
Yes.
Chair Izetta.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-1.
Moving on to item 5.2, the proposed bocce court shade coverings at Depot Park. There is a presentation, and I'll turn it over to Dave Jansen for a staff report on this chair.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And this proposal is being brought forward by Bocce Sonoma, and something that we wanted to bring forward to the commission, both for this initiative, because we felt it warranted it, but also just as we continue down the path of looking at park enhancements. This may be the type of thing that we bring forward to the Pros Commission in the future as we're looking to make enhancements. We want you all to have an eye on these and making sure that you're representing the community and making sure that improvements are in alignment with the vision for the parks in the future. And so just a little bit of background information on this proposal. So as you probably well know, we have 4 public bocce courts that are located at Depot Park. The city has a lease agreement with Sonoma Sister Cities. And so Bocce Sonoma is actually the nonprofit organization. They operate as an auspice of Sonoma Sister Cities. But as part of that agreement with Sonoma Sister Cities, Bocce Sonoma has been granted authority to operate a community bocce league out at the courts, which you may have seen. It's a very vibrant and active league, especially in the spring into fall months, really April into October, out there on a pretty much daily basis. Almost all of the courts and surrounding area right around the courts is maintained by volunteers and board members of Bocce Sonoma. You may have seen out there they've just done a rehabilitation project to add new materials to the courts out there. As you would imagine, in an open area like that gets quite warm. Currently the group is utilizing umbrellas, which you can see in the picture on the screen, and the existing natural tree canopy. There's certain areas that simply just don't get very much or not enough shade in the opinion of the players and Bocce Sonoma. So staff was recently approached to install semi-permanent shade structures out there with the intent of providing shade for bocce players, but that could be enjoyed by any members that are utilizing that space in the community. As I mentioned before, when league play is not happening, this is an area that is open and available to the community as well. So the initial proposal is for one structure, which we'll give you some imagery here in just a moment, but for one structure that would cover the two southernmost courts, with the intent that if the installation went well, the application of the shade was well received, and fundraising fell in line, that there would be the potential to add 2 additional structures on the northern courts. And the reason there's one structure covering 2 on the south end and would be 2 individuals on the north end, as you can see in that picture, kind of right beyond the umbrellas, there's a tree between the courts. And so because of the location of that tree, you can't add just one large structure or 2 even. They'd have to be split up, but the intent is that the aesthetics would remain consistent along that pathway. The proposal is this would be funded entirely by Bocce Sonoma, and to remain in alignment with the agreement, any improvements to that area have to receive the approval of the city before Bocce Sonoma or Sonoma Sister Cities move forward with any improvements to the park. So a quick look, this is an aerial view of the proposed location, and again, it's the initial proposal is the 2 southernmost courts. The red box is indicative somewhat of the footprint, so it would extend, if you're familiar with the area, kind of to where the pétanque courts, which in the picture on the right hand side, those wood logs, those show the pétanque court. So the shade structure would would span across that walkway and into several feet into the court area. So it would be a fairly comprehensive covering. The structure is 13 by 28. You'll see in the staff report it's 9.5 feet of vertical clearance. I was speaking with a representative from Bocce Sonoma. That vertical clearance, that may not be the exact quite height, so we're gonna do some homework on that. And one thing we're talking about is making sure that we have enough clearance, definitely for pedestrians and meet all accessibility standards, but also there is a pump house that's on the back side of that property. We want to make sure that we can get our maintenance and emergency vehicles in there if needed. There's other ways to access that area, so that will be after the discussion this evening. If the commission is supportive of this concept, that we'll make sure that there's appropriate clearance in and around that area. This is coming from the proposed manufacturer's website. This is the style, but one thing I will share is this is clearly not a 13 by 28 structure. This is the image that they have on their website, but 13 by 20 is actually much larger, and I'm not sure. Looking over to Cathy, we may be able to, if we click on that link, it may take us to a video. I'm not sure if that's going to allow us to do it from here. It gives you, I think, a little bit better feel for it, but it may not. Doesn't look like it's going to transpose onto the screen, but it's essentially, so it's this style, but this is clearly closer to a 10 by 10 instead of a 13 by 28. And if it doesn't work, that's all right. There it is. And the reason the video, I think this shows that there's significantly more clearance than what you see in that 10 by 10, and it's more spacious than what's shown in that original photo.
So is this the size of the one they're proposing?
It's close to, so they do custom made sizes, and so this one may not be exactly 13 by 20, but a lot closer to the size that's being proposed. I think that's good, yeah. I got it. Thank you.
Any questions from the commission?
So just Just real quick on next steps, and so what we're looking for you all as a commission this evening is your feedback, any recommendations, any questions. Don Orr is here with Bocce Sonoma, who can answer additional questions as he's had more conversations with the company being proposed, and can also correct anything that I may have gotten wrong on here. If the commission is supportive of the concept, what we would do is have follow-up with our staff operations team is in Bocce Sonoma to talk about those access, make sure we have proper clearance, making sure that we're very clear on how the product is being installed. As we understand it, the shade sales can come down on a seasonal basis if we'd like them to. Even the framework itself can come down. So when not in season, that's something we can determine if we'd like them to come down or stay up during the off-season. The posts and the footings themselves would stay in place. And if supportive tonight, Bocce Sonoma would then take it back to their board for final approval and to continue forward with the funding approach. And then if approved, we would move forward with installation and then monitoring once in place. And so that then brings me to the end of the presentation, but happy to answer questions, and if you so wish, we can invite Mr. Orr up to provide any additional comments.
I wouldn't mind if you stepped on up for a minute. I'm actually quite inclined to trust Bocce Sonoma's judgment on what you're looking for, especially since you're funding it. It sounds wise to do. Tell me about the resilience of this product, in your opinion, and also the one odd thing I noticed, it looked like the pitch of the top of the shade, and it was hard to tell, but it was hard to tell how rain is going to pool on it or not. So it's pretty hard to see.
It's shaped in such a way rain will not sit on it.
Okay.
The fabric is a proprietary fabric that this company makes.
Mm-hmm.
It's got an inner lining different from a umbrella. It gives probably 60-70% more shade than an umbrella. We're spending probably $4,000 to $5,000 a year replacing umbrellas because with the public going up and down. So we're looking for something to be a little more permanent that everybody can enjoy. It seems to be a good product. It's got a 10-year warranty, and we would maintain.
Is that on the fabric too?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is built to withstand winds up to 55 miles an hour.
That's great. So low maintenance, it sounds like.
Yes, we hope so. A lot less than what we're dealing with today.
I guess totally understand wanting shade with the way heat is coming these days, and I've seen you folks enjoying bocce out there,
Yeah.
and I love watching it too. But the one element that I would be thinking about too is the ongoing maintenance of the canopies themselves and how much that costs. If anybody knows replacing umbrellas,
Right.
if you buy an expensive umbrella and the frame and then you just try to replace the canopy itself, it costs more than buying a new umbrella.
Yeah.
So
It comes with a 10-year warranty, and there is no one piece that weighs more than 60 pounds. So individual pieces could be replaced as needed. But we're hoping that won't be the case, and that we'll have, we got 515 members now, and most of them are my age or older, and we need a little help. So.
Do you have any idea what the Petanque Club thinks of your concept? I imagine they would like it.
We contacted them a few times and never heard back. So, sorry, I couldn't tell you for sure.
Are you thinking also of placing other structures around at some point? Is this a test?
This is a
for
test for the hottest parts of the courts, the two middle courts, not the two southern courts, I'm sorry. The two end courts have a little bit of shade from trees, eucalyptus and oak on the other side. So this is sort of the hottest part of the courts, and we're proposing this one starting from the edge of Petanque going into the courts about 13 feet. And the reason that we're doing it from the Petanque instead of from the end of the court, a number of our players use walkers. And some even try and get around in wheelchairs. And to try and put that shade structure too close to the court wouldn't allow them enough room to maneuver around to get over to play.
So now that we know it's the two middle courts,
Yeah.
if you decided to add more shade structures, you'd put one on either side of that potentially, or is there some other?
At the other end of the same two courts.
Oh, okay.
But they'd have to be smaller because of the Manzanavi house.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I've got a question. Since we were just talking about trees, did you look at the option of planting trees to provide shade?
We have 2 trees between courts 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's why we couldn't put the shade across all 4 courts, because those trees would not permit us to do that. In order to put the trees in, the time for growth, I probably won't be around to enjoy it. And watering becomes an issue. We're trying to conserve as much as we can out there. We do have 2 small trees, and if we were to ever try and fund more at the same end, it would have to be smaller to not encroach on the 2 trees that are there. So.
Any other public comment?
Oh, no, me first.
Yeah, go for it.
Is the ADA problem the way they're attached down on the poles? That are you going to have clearance, or people have to duck their heads to get in it?
No, there's going to be plenty of clearance, and they're not anchored by concrete. They're earth anchors with a plate that's got 4 earth anchors, and those earth anchors are about 4 feet tall. So they're screwed into the ground 4 feet, but it still will withhold in a 55-mile-an-hour wind.
So those anchors are flush with the ground?
Yes.
And the vertical clearance is beneath the cloth?
Yes.
Okay.
The only place is on the 13 by 28 at the very back end next to Petanque. There's like a shade cloth that drops to prevent from coming into the backside. But that can be easily lifted up within minutes. And if need be, like Dave was saying, it's a semi-permanent. It can be left up all year. We haven't quite decided yet whether we need to take it down. But if need be for trucks or larger trucks to get in, it can easily be disassembled. So, any other questions?
Thank you for your thoughtful, sustainable approach. I think you guys have done a ton of research. I think it meshes well with the area, and I do agree that trees really wouldn't be as accessible as it would be with these shade structures, and I think it welcomes, as we look at additional heat measures within the other parks, this could be a good alternative as well. So
I
thank
actually
you.
think it'll add a lot to the place too. So, thank you.
And I'll just add in 2 final comments. I actually had a chance to meet with the Petanque folks yesterday on a separate topic, but brought this up with them, and there was no objections. They asked to be kept in the loop as we move forward with it, as it's clearly adjacent to their area, but as long as it wasn't actually impeding into their courts, they saw the benefit of adding shade there.
I just have one more question. Is the shade cloth flammable?
Could you come up to the microphone if you're going to answer? Thank you. It's okay.
I'm not sure. I'd have to get an answer and get back to you all.
I just think it'd be worth
I would assume that any
exploring.
type of cloth is going to be flammable at some point. I'm not going to say it's not. So.
I think an excellent question, just for the sake of so the commission knows is if there's interest for us to pursue this, what we do is that this will have to go through our review and permitting processes, and any tents that are beyond a certain footprint, which this one is, it's reviewed by our building department and will be reviewed by the fire department. And so that would be part of the process that it goes through. So we'll make sure that that's an appropriate material to be out there.
Is the pétanque group separate from the bocce ball group, and do they have a sister city relationship? Or?
No, they're a separate national organization, nonprofit on their own. We're a nonprofit attached to the sister city, Grave A sister city.
Thank you. So if pétanque wanted to do a similar shade structure, they go through the same process and at their expense, presumably? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Their membership is not as large, but.
Thank you.
So if no other questions, we don't need to take a formal vote here because we're not necessarily. Thank you. We do need to do public comment. Thank you.
I just have one more comment. I forget how many meetings ago it was. We had a proposal from, I think it was Mothers of the Plaza. We're concerned about shading the playground equipment because it's so hot in the summertime. And I don't know what happened to that request, but it probably falls under the Parks Master Plan, the master plan for the plaza. But I think it's still going to be an issue. As you say, it's getting hotter and hotter.
Yes, that was Becky Spear who came and presented the shade sales. I actually spoke to her on Sunday, and she's still interested in it. So I recommended that they speak about it. But a lot of the Mothers of Plaza Moms Instagram group is very interested in this as well. So it sounds like we are moving on to public comment. If there's anyone who wants to speak. Okay. Well, it sounds like we're all in agreement to provide, our recommendation would be to move forward with further proposals and gathering your funding, and then we'll bring it to Dave and he'll get everything approved.
Yeah, thank you. We'll continue. There'll be some more steps that we'll work with Bocce Sonoma directly on, and then we'll keep the commission updated as we move through the process.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5.3, the Olsen Park Improvement Project. We are at 90% plan review with the Land Culture Group, so I'm going to hand it over to Ashley Cotter to give us an update.
Thank you so much, Chair Izetta. We do have Ann Baker and Christy Jarvis here joining us via Zoom, and so they're going to take us through the 90% plan set. We have made some changes, and so they are going to walk us through that and be available to answer any questions you guys might have about the 90%.
Thank you, Ashley. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for hosting us tonight. I'm Ann Baker with Land Culture, and my colleague Christy Jarvis is here as well. We're excited to be presenting our 90% set. There aren't a lot of changes from the 50% set, but we'll walk you through them, and there's a couple potential decisions that we'd love your feedback and input on.
Would you like me to share, Ann? Or
I can screen? Share. I think you have to allow me to share, Ashley. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Just to briefly remind kind of how we got here, we went through a really nice visioning process with the community. We met on site, we did a survey, got lots of information about what residents like about the existing park and the kinds of things that they wanted to see developed in the park, which are shown in this word cloud. The big item was shade, so you'll see we're responsive to that with a lot of trees. There's desire for a water fountain, more benches, better maintenance, some paving improvements, swings. You see toddler play is kind of a big item there. And we put the pickleball in the bathrooms in yellow because we weren't sure we could attain those two items at this particular park. So as we move forward through the design, these are some of the kind of concepts that we shared early on for what the plantings would look like that we got your approval on. And this was our first concept plan, just for reference, that showed kind of ideally everything that we would like to do in the park, and that since then we've had to scale down a little bit in order to stay within the budget that we have for the park, which is in the realm of $415,000 to $430,000. So as we've moved through the design, we've made some kind of value engineering decisions and slimmed down some of these elements. So just an overview of what we are doing. We're making improvements to the entry here. Let's see if you can see my, can you see my little hand? So we're making improvements to the entry here, pulling it away from these two trees which are causing the current paving to crack and creating a new accessible entry into the playground. We're creating this loop path over here with a new lawn area and some picnic sites that are separated for groups, but the whole area could be used for a larger group. We have a small sand play element. There's tree plantings throughout and general improvements in that regard. So just a couple quick photographs. This is the entry path that has a roots coming in from these magnolias that are probably only half as big as they're eventually going to get. So we're pulling the path over this direction, and we're removing this hedge here for visibility. Just a little more of a close-up there. So the path currently comes straight through here, and it's moving down here. There's some bike parking that we're proposed in a little picnic area. We're proposing adding a new swing here that's a bucket swing that's inclusive, and then adding some play structure elements, including these shade toppers that are outlined in the squares here. And this is the sand play area and the picnic. And you can see we're adding kind of lots of trees throughout the site. This is the existing structure. It's pretty sound, but it has some elements that are a little dated. And we're proposing changing out these shade structures on the top of the platforms for bigger ones, and then adding some features to, like this one, switching out this feature, switching out this feature. So those are indicated on this sheet. So these are the new bigger shade sails that go over each of those little platform spaces. These are the 3 new climbers that we're proposing to place on the structure. So this is just a quick little sketch of where some of those elements are going on that existing structure. We're also taking a look, just now, we're taking a look at perhaps replacing some of these elements on this entry end of the structure, the monkey bars here, and the bridge that's right here, which some residents have felt isn't great for toddlers. I think this probably was in your packet. This is our cost opinion. We go through all the different items in the plan set, and you can see that we're, oopsie. This doesn't look like the right cost opinion.
I was wondering.
Yeah, no, sorry, that is not the right cost opinion. I'll have to go. Maybe, Christy, you could find the right one.
Yeah, let me look.
That's like too much money. Anyway, one item that the commission asked us to come back on was the playground surfacing material. So we provided some numbers here down at the bottom. What's currently in the budget is a little more than this. It's about $17,000 for the engineered wood mulch. And the commission asked us to look at what it would cost to use a poured-in-place rubber system, which we've gotten numbers, estimates around $62,000. So it's roughly 3 times as much. And then if we were going to do a hybrid system, it would land somewhere in between, but still quite a bit more expensive than the engineered wood system. One thing that kind of has come back on the table since Dave came on board is something we proposed in the concept plan, which was to construct a mural along this wall here. So with this this sketch, we're just showing where the views are to this mural. And so in order to do that, we'll need to remove a few of these trees that we have in the 90% plan and nudge them around a little bit to frame the mural better. The other thing that comes up when we reintroduce this mural is there's 3 ash trees along the property line here. Actually, there's 4. There's another one down here that aren't in great shape. So if we're going to have more people potentially in this area getting up close to the mural, we may need to consider removing and replacing a couple of those ash trees. This is what the wall looks like from kind of in front of the play structure. So it's in these segments. And it's a textured wall, so we'd have to do some work to make a better surface for a mural, and then presumably whatever story is there would maybe be in 4 or 5 of these segments. And these are the ash trees. A couple years ago, they actually don't even look this good. Now, this one is really in kind of tear down mode here. This one here is the best one currently. And then this one has a large injured to the roots that have been run over by mowers. And then this one back here has a pretty bad scar. So our suggestion is we remove and replace these trees, and not the one that's in the mural location. So that is our brief presentation today, but we can also go through the plan set if you have specific questions. And Christy, did you find that cost opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like me to share my screen?
Stop sharing real quick.
I've got a lot open. But here it is.
Yeah.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah, so the larger point is, in order for us to do the poured in place rubber surfacing, we'd probably need to increase our budget by something close to 50,000, or remove some elements, roughly that same amount.
We've already pulled out the fencing for value engineering to get it to this number. So these are the lighting and the fencing were moved into an optional category already.
So our request tonight is, to hear any feedback that you have on the 90% plans and answer any questions that you may have. Get some direction from the commission about the type of surfacing that you'd like for the structure. And we'd like to move forward into preparing the 100% plans and moving to bidding. It's a pretty ideal bidding environment right now. And so we'd like to get approval from the commission to move forward. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll take your questions. Do you want to stop sharing, Christy?
Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I was curious relative to all of this talk of shade. And when you're looking at, the hottest thing is the slides usually. I mean, they just literally cook. And when I was looking at the design, I was wondering about, do they actually do kind of an analysis of where the sun is within the park relative to the placement of the shade structures for the height of the hottest part of the day, for example, versus the morning is usually pretty cool and it's not as much of an issue as afternoon, obviously, late after 3 o'clock, for example. So is that factored into the placement of where those shades are placed? And especially the slides,
Yes, I mean we've put the shade sail. There's 4 posts on each platform, and so we've put the shade sail. In this instance, it's centered on kind of the top of the slide, so it's covering as much of the slide as possible from the noonday sun, and then the sun rotates around kind of behind to the left side of the drawing, and the upper left corner of the drawing would be the late afternoon western sun, and so we have a lot of trees on the west side to reduce the sun, which gets in the hottest part of the day is kind of the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock sun.
Hi, Anne. It's good to see you again. I am just wondering about the aggregate that's going to be used on the pathways. We had talked ages ago about Myakama red. That it's natural stone that if it's applied and installed thoughtfully is incredibly resilient and beautiful, actually. I just wondered if that's part of the bid or if it has changed.
No, that's still currently proposed as the material. We have noted that material has a little more limited window when it's available.
Right.
So depending on our construction schedule, that might be something that we would look at a substitution for if we didn't want it to slow down construction. But yeah, we've done lots of different types of stabilized aggregate, and that type of material would be very well suited and is local, which meets good sustainability standards.
Yes, their season is as soon as the rain stops and until the rain starts.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I just I was trying to find that in the budget and I didn't see anything that looked like that. I was just curious of how it's listed in the budget.
It's the stabilized aggregate paving, and so
it's number 3, permeable gravel / stabilized gravel.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for bringing forth all of the changes. I think my biggest feedback has been around not using the sand or wood chips. And while we think about investing into a park for almost $500,000, and it's going to be the biggest renovation we've done in a very long time to any of our community parks, when I think about a $40K difference, that is a very nominal cost of something that will be strong for longevity, accessible to multiple families, and keeping a lot of moms happy. So my resounding feedback is getting creative with our budget when we go to bid, whether we can use community resources to take away the demo cost is something I brought up with Dave of, can we have a local contractor volunteer their time to take away that $20K piece of the demo, or figure out something when we go to bid and talk through how we get creative to make up for that difference or increase our budget. But I speak for myself and many other local mothers that definitely are in favor of the rubberized material.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the commission before we go to public comment? All right. Are there any comments from the public? Any recommendations to the staff from anyone else?
And Sherry, if you don't mind, I was just going to add in a little bit of context to the mural piece, and then talk a little bit about some of the elements that Anne was saying and kind of our next steps depending on commission feedback. So the reason the mural has come back into the project in meeting with the Cultural Fine Arts Commission, they're interested in expanding public arts. There's tremendous opportunity to have more arts within our park system. And so at their November meeting, they provided support that if it fit within the framework of the park enhancement, that they would be interested in making a recommendation to utilize public art funds to fund the mural aspect of this project. And so what would be great to hear from you all is making sure that a piece of a professional mural being added back into the park design fits your vision for the park enhancement. And if so, what we'll do is we'll work kind of between the ad hoc of Olsen Park and the ad hoc that was created on the Cultural Fine Arts Commission on a process. Essentially what we'd look to do is launch a call for artists in the midst of, in the process of us going out for bid so that we can time it up. An ideal scenario, you get the mural in place at the same time we're unveiling the new park. There's always the opportunity for it to be added in at a later juncture as well. But there's opportunity to have a mural funded for the park that would not be part of this park budget per se. And so that's the context with the mural. So we'd love to get your feedback on whether that fit still the vision of the park itself. And then talking about the surfacing materials as well as the playground elements. As Ann mentioned, we're working with the manufacturer of the playground materials. We're going to be having some discussions to see if there's opportunity to enhance a few other elements. But as we're looking, anything that we add, of course, increases the budget. And so what we would love to, from a staff level, to hear tonight is the importance of exploring the surfacing material as well as the playground elements, knowing that we're on a finite budget, but those level of importance of kind of where we are now with the recommended playground enhancements, or if you think there's an opportunity, if it fits within our budget constraints, to enhance the playground, and then weighing that with the playground surfacing material, if that makes sense.
I don't think I'd be opposed to doing a combination of the rubberized and sand, or the engineered, what do we call it? Wood chips.
Engineered
Yeah.
wood fiber.
Yeah, wood fiber, the engineered ones that are splinter free, I've been told. But I think any enhancement to the actual physical park is, the play structure is important, because again, as we look to make this, the first big investment we've made in a very long time to our parks, I think it's important that people are excited about it. And it's not just, oh, we planted 20 new trees. Yes, it's important for, our canopy, but at the end of the day, like, we are putting in more shade structures. We are putting in other elements that are beautifying the park, but we want people to be there and play in the parks and use them, and not just walk past them. I think that's my opinion of increasing the budget is probably going to be necessary.
I would have to agree with Dana on the rubberized surface. If we're looking at the long-term, big picture, it is superior. Visiting grandkids in other areas that have it, it's really the way to go if at all possible.
I'm going to agree relative to only though portions of it. And I have 3 grandchildren. So in particular, around the swings many times, my grandkids didn't like the rubberized because their feet would hit it and it would literally hurt, or it would pull them down and off the swing, versus having sand there or something else. In fact, sand was what they wanted, but nobody wanted sand because of cats, and you know what happens. So, but around the play structures, a mix or having them around there was something they loved having, and I liked it too, because when they fell, it was a lot less painful for them. So that's just my comment on that.
That's really an interesting comment. I mean, it's sort of having a thoughtful approach to it, having the rubberized be where it's about safety concerns, and then the mulch. I mean, and the other thing is, have you seen the mulch? You have, and you're not crazy about it. What about for rubberized in areas where falling?
I can see the concerns of the falling. I think kids are going to fall no matter what. They're going to fall off the monkey bars. They're going to fall off coming down the slide. I think I trust a company that does this for a living, where they know the efficacy of different materials. I've seen one of the parks where they've done this in Aptos in Santa Cruz, of all rubberized, and it's safe. My kids have played on it many times and not had an issue. So I'm not diminishing your thoughts, but I would trust their opinion of where they think that should be versus us deciding of this part has sand, this part not. I would defer to experts in that, but I'm not opposed to it. But I don't love the wood chips. But I know sand is a shorter lifespan because we have to replace it very often.
I don't think sand is on the table anymore, is it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
We have sand proposed just in the toddler play area, but around the materials. And just to give a little context, it does depend on the final product, and I know Ann and Christy know these products better than I do, but typically when it comes to, there's advantages and challenges with each of the surfaces, but when it comes to fall protection, typically the engineered wood fiber is a higher level of fall protection than sand, and then the rubber is typically a slightly higher fall protection than the wood chips. The wood chips certainly meet the standard for fall protection, but just looking at that. So they all both, and so we're proposing, right now it's proposed as the engineered wood fiber, but any of the placement of it that's part of the installation, and we actually have playground inspection certified staff that make sure that we are meeting, all fall requirements of any existing or new elements that go in.
My whole comment was based around just the budget part of it too. If I had my druthers, I probably would rather have it all rubberized, to tell you the truth.
Right.
But if there's a way to, if it's less, like for around the swings or something, then that's something. I wouldn't want necessarily wood chips around the swing though, either. I just don't.
Right. So sorry. The sand area, the sand is not wheelchair accessible, so that's why that's off the table. And we moved it into a separate sand area for the toddlers because the toddlers like to play. That's the feedback we got from the community, that was the main element of the current design that was for the toddlers. So we have a transfer station for someone in a wheelchair to be able to maneuver down into the sand play area. Whereas if it was still, as it is now, it's not accessible for wheelchairs. So I think if we were to do a combination of fiber and the rubberized material, it would align with accessibility around the structures for a wheelchair. And then the fiber could be, if someone's launching off the swing and they want a soft landing for maybe a distance away from the swings, would be my initial thought.
Does the budget item with a combined approach of fiber and rubberized, is there a plan behind that of where each would be applied?
Not yet. I mean, I think we've been waiting for direction. Initially our direction around the park design was very budget sensitive, and so we really focused everything to get within the budget that we were told, and also prioritizing what the community had said they wanted. The specifically, like, for example, the surfacing never really came up in the community conversations. So we're happy to do actually whatever this commission and the community prefers. But we haven't yet actually developed the design a little further to, for example, to do a combination of the two. It's a good time to have this discussion though, because we are looking at the structure for a couple other enhancements with the landscape structures vendor, and so we can kind of model a couple different approaches at this time.
I have a question. It's just a clarification. So is the budget more or less set? And if the rubberized material is chosen, then other things will have to be knocked out of the budget? Or is there some wiggle room somehow to get more money? I think that's a clarification would really help.
And I'll let Ashley kick me if I get out of line here. But my understanding, so the budget has been approved as part of this project. So it's part of a council-approved capital improvement program. So if we were to increase that, and so I think a couple options is we can go out with, if we're looking purely at the surfacing, we could go out with some bid alternatives to see what that cost would come in. If we're talking about changing the playground elements and the surfacing, we kind of need to have that dialed in a little bit more because that's going to affect the bid as it comes back. But if we were to increase the budget, it would require a budget amendment, and so we would need to take that forward. So again, it doesn't mean there isn't wiggle room, but it's not something we can just say, yeah, we'll throw this amount more money at. There'd have to be a discussion at the city manager and council level in order to adjust that budget since it's already been approved.
They approved it based on the 50% plans, or what was that?
So when we went to council for budget adoption in June, we had already received the 50%, and so we were able to utilize that budget and had an idea of what our shortfall was. And so in our 25-26 CIP, we asked for that additional money to make up for any anticipated budget shortfall, and that includes 15% contingency and other line items that aren't necessarily calculated into that like first bottom line in the cost opinion. And so we did utilize that to inform our budget for the 25-26 year. But per what Dave's comment about adding money into the project is absolutely possible. Council has adopted a project budget, but again, when we go through and authorize contracts, we usually like re-adopt a project budget. So there is some wiggle room, but there's not an incredible amount. And then one of the things too is a lot of the money that's funding this project is restricted funds, and so that's also funding other possible park improvements. And so digging into the question, which would be council, city manager level, like where that additional funding ask is going to come from.
So I think helpful to move the conversation forward. What would where we would like to hear is if there's an interest in exploring the surfacing and the playground options, we can certainly do that, staff, and we can work with Ann and Christy on that. I think the intent being that we would love to continue to keep progress on this project moving forward, as we know it's been a long time coming. And so if there was decisions to be made, if the commission's comfortable with us exploring those options and working specifically with the ad hoc on any of those final determinations so that we can move into the planned bid set. If the commission's not comfortable, we could certainly come back at a special meeting to discuss it. But if there's enough comfort in exploring those options, knowing that those are important for the commission to, at least for us to understand how that may fit within an existing or a slightly expanded budget, we could do that at a staff and ad hoc level as well. So I think that would be helpful for us to hear tonight, just in order for us to keep moving forward and we can get this project out to bid for the community in 26.
I am comfortable moving forward with the rubberized and exploring the additional play structure improvements. Do we need each of us to say that, or do we need to come together as a commission?
You mean the okay.
I want them to move forward with the
and exploring the surface component. Agreed.
And I think the only thing that we would want to hear is if there was explicit, if it fits within budget and we had funding available, is there an opposition to exploring the rubberized material? That's what we want to hear tonight, so that if we were to have the funding were to be available, we know we'd move forward in that direction, versus if it needed to be a more discussion about the materials itself.
Do we need a motion?
I don't believe, I'm looking for official from our clerk, but I don't believe we need a motion. We're looking for general direction on this. And I think the other piece is, I know we focused in on the surfacing, but just if there's general consensus and approval of the concept, the rest of the park. Obviously there's a lot of other elements, a lot of work that's gone into beautifying that park. And so if the commission's comfortable with the overall concept, knowing that we're focusing in on those two items, that'll give us enough direction to move forward.
It does not sound like we have any explicit objections. We agree to move forward in this direction, and we look forward to hearing any additional progress. Thank you, Ann Baker and Land Trust.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
Ann and Christy, before you sign off, just want to make sure any other additional information you all need from the Commission. I know I was speaking there, but want to make sure I didn't miss anything that you all need on your end.
No, I think that's good. I mean, I think the main thing that we've been seeing is that, last year the bid environment was really poor, and bids were coming in really high. And right now the bid environment actually looks pretty good. So I'm pleased that we're moving forward, because I think we'd like to get the bid set out as soon as possible. And we can examine these remaining questions on the structure and the surfacing, and then, decide how to bid it. You mentioned doing a bid alternate, which would be a good way to do it, or have it be the base bid. But I like the idea that we're moving forward with the ad hoc and we can get this out to bid as soon as possible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5.4, to approve the 2026 Parks and Recreation and Open Space Commission meeting calendar. We can discuss the proposed meeting dates and approve the pros meeting calendar, and we'll turn it over to Jahns for a staff report.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. You'll see the dates up in front of you. These are the same that came to you in the agenda packet, and so very consistent with our calendar for this year for the core kind of 4 quarterly meetings. The one addition is the first meeting, which you'll see right now. We have as slated as January 21st. That's intended to be the special joint commission meeting where we'll be doing specifically looking at the results of the tree inventory and the tree canopy study. So that would be a joint meeting with the Planning Commission and the Climate Action Commission. The one other piece I'll add is these are the dates that we will make sure we lock in on the calendar, but that we certainly have the ability to add in additional special meetings throughout the year if there's topics that we need to take action on, or if you all feel it's important that we have meetings in between these. So with that, I'll leave it up to you to discuss any concerns with the dates being proposed.
Any questions from the commission? Any public comment? It sounds like we are all in agreement and we can move forward with these dates. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 5.5, we are on to the appointment of 2026 chair and vice chair for the pros commission. I'm going to turn it over to Cathy.
Are we ready? Sorry, okay. I just want to make sure. So annually, the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Commission conducts a reorganization by selecting a chair and vice chair from among its members to serve for the year. The chair presides over pros meetings, and the vice chair performs the duties of the chair in their absence. The selection process for determining who will serve as chair and vice chair for 2026 will proceed as follows. I will call for nominations for the position of chair. To make a nomination, pros members need only state, "I nominate blank." Nominations do not require a second. However, other members may express support for a nomination by making a seconding statement. When no further nominations are made, staff will declare nominations for the position of chair are closed and will allow for public comment, if any. A roll call vote will then be taken, beginning with the first nominee. If that nominee receives a majority vote, they will be declared elected, and no additional votes will be taken on the remaining nominees. If no nominee receives a majority vote, the nomination and voting process will be repeated, with nominees voted on in the order of the nomination until a candidate receives a majority vote. The same process will be followed to select a chair. So, at this time, I guess, Jeff, do you have something to say?
I do, thank you, Cathy. Sadly so, I have to step down from the commission itself, and obviously in doing so, the vice chair position that I have, we have some serious family matters that we have to attend to that require our full attention. And as a result, it's been my honor, pleasure to be on this commission, and I hope to someday again serve. But at least for the near term, the schedule is very full for our family. So I would appreciate letting everybody know that, and I'll support everybody as much as I can from the outside. Thank you.
So, do we have any nominations for the position of chair?
I nominate Dana Izetta for chair.
Second, even though we don't need a second.
Third, fourth.
Do we have any other nominations. Not to belittle the first nomination by any means. Okay. With that, we will do a roll call vote to have Dana be our chair again. Commissioner Cullinan.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, public comment. Commissioner Donnelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Mizuraka.
Yes.
Vice Chair Roush.
Aye.
Commissioner Tolbert.
Yes.
Chair Izetta. Aye. Well, you have to agree to it. Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we are at Vice Chair.
I nominate Charles Tolbert for Vice Chair.
I'll second that one.
Do we have any
I
other?
third, but I also, if he does not want to accept, I do not want to force him into it. We do have 2 open positions, so I didn't know if they could serve those vice chairs or no.
I believe, Dave, that we would want to get this, if Charlie did not want to do it, we're not gonna force him to do it. And the position could remain open, but we don't know when we will get, new commissioners. So, in the interest of a smooth running commission, no pressure, Charlie.
I promise we'll make it as painless as possible.
I'm fine with it.
Okay, okay. He did an excellent job the last time as well. So, do we have any other nominations? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Commissioner Cullinan,
Yes.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Mizuraka,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roush,
Yes.
Commissioner Tolbert,
Yes.
Chair Izetta.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously, and thank you guys for going through that with me.
Any other commission member reports or comments?
I just have a question. We had talked way back about having a commission like retreat / university / or, reorientation. Is that still gonna happen? Not that I'm necessarily advocating for it, I just wondered.
I'm not familiar with that, but that doesn't mean it's not happening or can't happen. Was that about all commissions, or was that specific to?
It was
specific
all
to Gross?
commissions. Rebecca and Monique were working on something, trying to get everybody all on the same page. But I haven't heard anything about it in the last few months.
We'll find out. We'll get back to you.
Is there an update on the replacement trees at Hughes where all the trees were removed and now it looks like it's getting ready for a replant?
Yeah, I was going to provide that as part of my my update here. So there is progress being made if you've been out there, and we're talking about the tree removal that happened along the Little League fields. Took longer than anticipated. I know in talking to folks with Little League and with the county to get after the trees were removed, to get the stumps ground, and then even beyond that, those root systems removed. But that happened 2 weeks ago, where I believe they got the roots removed, and right now they are planning the planting location, so I think they are very close. I've asked them to keep me updated, but last I heard was that they're still trying to get those trees even in before the end of this year, early in 26. The intent is to get them in and get them established well before the start of Little League season.
And what kind of trees will they be?
I will confirm that. I know that they were looking at. I don't want to get the exact. I may get the species wrong, and again, it was not finalized at that point, but it was. I know it was a colorful tree, and so I believe it was a maple species is what they were looking at, something that was hardy and that would do well in Northern California. But they are also going to be adding irrigation in, and so they are running irrigation lines from the existing Little League area, and so that'll be an inline drip system as well as some direct watering. That's part of the layout that they were looking at 2 weeks ago. what I'll do is I'm due for an update, and so once I have an idea on the exact date and I'll get the specific species, I'll send a note out to the commission, and we'll also push that out to the community as well.
I just have a comment that's probably feed into our work plans going forward, especially in terms of pedestrian safety. We saw in the Sonoma Sun last week that a teenager on an e-scooter collided into a car, was seriously hurt. And that triggered the Sun to say, well, we really need to pay more attention to promoting safety for people using e-scooters, e-skateboards, and e-bikes. And there's going to be some movement to that. But my concern is as a pros committee concerned with pedestrian safety is, I don't know how many times I've walked on the bike path here, and an e-scooter or e-bike, which is very quiet even compared to a regular bicycle, goes whizzing by, and if somebody turns in the wrong direction to avoid that, there's going to be some serious accidents. So I really think we need, as a commission, we need to put that on our work plan to see how we can address improving etiquette and safety on the bike paths with these e-bikes and e-scooters that are getting ever more popular. And then secondly, I'd like to thank Dana for chairing this year, and Jeff, we're so sorry to see you go, but also appreciate working with not only Cathy and Ashley and Mike from the past, but Dave is welcome, and John, you've been very quiet tonight, but you've been successful. But thank you. Thank you.
I'll second that comment on the motorized bikes and skateboards on the bike path. I don't remember where I saw it, but I was reading something about how they're all getting faster, and that the bike path was never intended to have like motorized vehicles on it. But so I completely 100% agree with you. I just can't imagine how, besides some signage, we would ever enforce it, that there would be enough, budget to enforce it. It's just, I feel like it's just going to happen, but maybe some signage would be helpful.
I just wanted to I'm sorry. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know I rode my bike to work a couple weeks ago, right? And I used the bike path, ran the whole length of the bike path. I can confirm there is signage that says no electric bikes or scooters, at least on the entrance to just random things you notice.
Motorized.
But is
Yeah,
that
not motorized.
Is that the policy though? Because I thought that the motorized piece was a certain voltage, like the push packs can go because it's ADA. So there's certain things where if it's above a certain voltage, it should be allowed.
It didn't have any voltage listed, but it was specific to scooters and I think e-bikes. So it didn't say anything about like ADA or anything like that. And to be fair, the signs could possibly need to be updated, but I just wanted to let you guys know that there is some signage saying, not to have those types of things on there, and those are at the entrances at just at General Vallejo's Street and then on either side.
Yeah, they're not by Nathanson or any of those.
Yeah.
Though. It says motorized, not e-bikes.
That would just be one thing I would want to look into of what is our policy and what is the education point? Like, are we actually enforcing the right things? And like figuring out if it's a bunch of younger people using e-scooters, like what are we actually trying to educate them on versus just banning it, because that's not going to work obviously. But if our path is allowing some motorized things and some not, which ones are allowed and which ones aren't, is probably the better policy here.
Yeah, I think excellent comments, and I can share. I know our police chief is actively working on this. It's become an issue in numerous cities and all throughout the county and in various counties, and so something they're looking at. I know it is. There's definitely some layers to it, because it doesn't come down just to pure speed or the type. It comes down oftentimes to voltage, which is very difficult to capture, especially if someone's whizzing by. But what we can do is find out exactly what's in our policy, work with our police chief on what they're currently doing. And I think it would be an excellent topic for us as a commission to explore in the coming years, how we make sure that we've got the appropriate signage and education and elements out
and
along
Marin
our
just passed
bike.
a policy on this too. Marin did, because they wrote up a whole article in
My comment would be that in the voltage, there is voltage of how fast the bike bikes can go. But you're talking about teenage boys, and all those things can be turned over. And I think also you're talking about children that don't know the rules of the road anyway, and that, you know, maybe start with public service announcements to schools, middle school or younger. And I noticed that a lot of people have you know, you're supposed to let people go right away, and those things aren't part of their skill set yet. They haven't driven cars, they haven't taken, you know, this license. So maybe simply public service of rules of the road to start with.
Yeah, and I think that goes right into something I had shared with Dave a few months ago. In Palo Alto, they passed or built it was a paint activity where they basically painted a blacktop at a school, and it was for bike safety for kids and teaching them, you know, here's how you stop, here's what left, and it's this massive piece of just teaching kids how to ride bikes. And it's like, you can't just keep doing it in your one neighborhood, but I think it's a great opportunity to be able to tie that into it as well as just an education piece. Any other comments from the staff or announcements?
I think that the one announcement on my end was I was going to give the update on the tree planting, so I'll keep you apprised of what's happening at the Little League fields, and I would say stay tuned. We're working on coordinating a few tree planting opportunities in our own right, and so hopeful that those will most likely or definitely take place before our next commission meeting, so I'll keep you updated by way of email and our other communication channels if we have the opportunities there. Otherwise, from my perspective, I want to thank Commissioner and Vice Chair Roush. I know I didn't have the opportunity to serve with you too long, but just really appreciate your insight in my short time here, and I know it extends a lot longer, and your contributions to the commission and to the community. So I just really want to thank you for your time here, and I also want to thank the Public Works team. They're not going anywhere completely, but the intent is as we get into 26 is we'll continue to work on transitioning duties and roles, and so that we can allow them to focus on their other numerous priorities. You'll still definitely see them from time to time, or who knows, on a regular basis, but we're going to work on transitioning them out of their roles. So I just want to thank Cathy, Ashley, Mike for everything they have done and will continue to do.
Yeah, and I just want to echo Dave's comments on the commission. Appreciate everything all you do, and especially chair and vice chair. That's a little bit more work, and incoming chair and vice chair, although chair is the same. But appreciate everything that you do. Thanks a lot, and a lot of good comes out of this commission, and Public Works will be here to support for sure.
Thank you so much. And second thought, thank you, Commissioner Roush. We will miss you, but we hope to see you back here soon at some point. So with that, we can adjourn the meeting.